I'm Judge Andy Kolakowski. I'm honored to begin the dedication ceremony for the Judge Jamie Wittenberg Memorial Wall. When I arrived at the 44th District Court, I knew that there was a standard that those who serve the court must meet. And that's the standard that was set by Judge Jamie Wittenberg. Judge Wittenberg's service to the cities of Berkeley and Royal Oak are not best measured by the elections that he won or the years that he served. It's best measured by the lives that he helped change. There are powerful stories of Judge Wittenberg's unique ability to ensure that every individual that entered his courtroom was left better equipped to move forward in life. And spend any time in the 44th District Court, you will quickly realize that Judge Wittenberg's impact reaches beyond the people who appeared before him. His influence on colleagues, attorneys, court staff, and all the people he served as judge still resonates today. This memorial wall will serve as a permanent reminder to all that passed through the 44th District Court of the Judge Jamie Wittenberg standard, one of fairness, humility, and service. The program this evening honors that legacy. To begin, please join me in welcoming the Royal Oak Police Department and Berkeley Public Safety Department's honor guards for the posting of our nation's colors. You can all stand. Guard, hold, ready, post. Post, colors. Present. Arms.
At this time, I'm going to ask the daughters of Jamie Wittenberg to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. After that is completed, I'd ask that everybody remain standing as we will hear an invocation given by Rabbi Jennifer Kaluzny.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. About. Face. Forward. March. About. Face. Forward. March.
To honor Judge Jamie Wittenberg's memory today, the obvious biblical quote to turn to is in Deuteronomy, Tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. Surely that is what Judge Wittenberg did every day on the bench, but there was so much more to his legacy as a judge than handing out rulings and following the letter of the law. He was more than the robe, more than the bench. Judge Wittenberg was a man of good character and full heart. Because of this truth, I choose instead today to lean on Micah 6:8, which teaches us, God has told you what is good and what requires of you. Do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God. Judge Wittenberg was a judge that understood not just what the law asked of him, but what his values and conscience asked of him. His goal was always justice for victims and their families, and at the same time, justice that reflected fairness and kindness. Judge Wittenberg led with his humility and his humanity. He was respectful, kind, and fair. If you ask most professionals, they will tell you the place they are most humbled is at home, and it is usually by their own children. Ariel, Talia, Maya, and Brooke, while everyone else had to call him Judge, you got to call him Dad. Stacy, you were so lucky to build a home and a family with Jamie. I hope it goes without saying how proud he was of all of his girls. Despite rising to the position of judge, I don't think I am out of turn to say that his family was his greatest accomplishment. We can all learn from this verse in Micah that beautifully described Judge Wittenberg as a judge, son, brother, husband, father, and friend. First, always strive for equity. Through equity, we raise up those who need to be uplifted, and we improve the world around us. Judge Wittenberg utilized what was within his power to improve his community. The importance of the sobriety court was just an example of this. When equity was not possible, strive for fairness. Attorneys knew that when they went before Judge Wittenberg, they would be treated fairly, as would their clients. Now, it is possible that people walked away thinking they got a bad deal or a bad sentence, but the truth was that in front of Judge Wittenberg, fairness was the priority. Second, we must always lead with kindness. We don't always know someone's entire story or what brought them to that moment in their lives. Kindness takes no extra time and no extra effort. Judge Wittenberg showed kindness to the people who may never have been shown kindness before. Third, walk humbly. Jamie felt blessed by his life, by his family, his colleagues, his friends, and his community that elected him to become a judge. Anyone who spoke to him while he was ill or before knew how lucky he felt to live the life he was living. Yes, he worked hard to be where he was, but he still felt so lucky. Thank you, Judge Wittenberg, for bringing Micah's words to life and teaching us by your example. Your memory is embedded in your children, your courtroom, and your community, and will continue to be a blessing to us all. We pray, El Malei Rachamim, God full of compassion, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Judge Jamie Wittenberg in the shadow of your wings, and may his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. Amen.
I just wanted to, please be seated. Please be seated. My name is Judge Derek Meineke. I have the great fortune to be a colleague with Jamie as well as close dear friend. I just wanted to, before we move on to the next portion of the program, because we moved right into the pledge and the invocation, I didn't get a chance to give everybody an update on Ariel and Talia and Brooke and Maya and all the amazing things that they're doing. Ariel is heading into her senior year at the University of Michigan, and she just returned stateside after spending her winter semester studying in Barcelona, and I think studying Europe as a whole. So, and Talia is heading into her sophomore year at the University of Michigan, and she had a very strong freshman year. Very proud of Talia. And Brooke and Maya are going to be seniors. Unbelievable. They're going to be seniors coming in this fall, and each of them have emerged in their own individual, because I'm sure for many years it's been Brooke and Maya the twins. Both of them, I think, have really started to become their own person. Brooke has found a passion in taking care of children, and Maya played lacrosse and is on the debate team. So obviously a lot of really exciting updates for these four amazing young women. And again, thank you again to Rabbi Kluzny, who was there all along the way through some of the toughest moments with Jamie's illness, and has been a great support for my good friend Stacy. So on to Judge Kolakowski.
Thank you. I'd like to invite up both Mayor Bridget Dean and Mayor Michael Fournier to offer their remarks and welcome from their respective cities.
We're going to tag team this. We're not speaking together. I'm honored to stand before you representing the city of Berkeley, all the residents, and some of my council members who are here in attendance this evening to pay tribute to the late Judge Jamie Wittenberg. As mayor, I spend a lot of time out in the community, mainly because I believe it's my responsibility to do so, and I like it. And when I'm out in the community, I have many, many conversations with residents and visitors alike. And some of those conversations, actually a fair number of those conversations begin with, you had a judge in Berkeley. And people go on to tell me stories of how their lives were affected positively by interactions with that judge in Berkeley. And people go on to say, I don't remember his name, but what I remember is his compassion, his kindness, his understanding, his fairness. And I had somebody say to me, he gave my brother a second chance, and he turned his life around. And so to you all this evening, I say, yes, we did have a judge in Berkeley, and his name was Judge Jamie Wittenberg. Thank you.
A heartfelt thank you on behalf of all Royal Oakers for being here tonight to honor our dear friend Jamie Wittenberg. When the courts merged more than a decade ago, we felt very blessed to welcome Judge Wittenberg to our community. His empathetic and approachable nature made us feel like he had always been here. From the start, there was never a mystery about Judge Wittenberg. He was highly competent, highly knowledgeable, highly skilled. But more than that, Jamie Wittenberg set a near perfect example of what it means to be a public servant. A guy as bright as Jamie could have done anything. He found his calling in public service, a calling he was fully committed to. He held a deep responsibility to the community that placed their trust in him. His legacy serves as a reminder that kindness, humility, an unwavering commitment to serving others can make a profound difference in the lives of countless people. To Jamie's family, there are no words to convey how much your husband and your dad meant to our city. Thank you for sharing him with us. We will forever be grateful for the gift of Jamie Wittenberg and the legacy he leaves with all of us. Thank you.
It's now my privilege to welcome two of Judge Wittenberg's closest friends on the bench, Judge Jamie Horowitz and Judge Joe Fabrizio. Jamie and Jamie met at the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. He was a prosecutor. She was an intern, I think, for current AG Nessel, right? And Jamie recognized her energy. I don't think that anybody would fail to recognize your energy and passion, sparking a fantastic friendship that continued as both went from prosecutors to the bench. Jamie always spoke so highly of you, and I know he would be exceptionally grateful for how you've looked out for Stacy in some tough times. And to Joe, he and Jamie were both elected in November in 2008, so they got to be baby judges together. But more than that, they weren't just simply judges, they were young family men, and their families then merged together, and it was the Wittenbergs and Fabrizios at different judicial conferences. I know that he trusted you and relied on your opinion, enjoyed your humor, and considered you one of his best friends, not just on the bench, but one of his best friends. So please join me in welcoming Judge Horowitz and Judge Fabrizio.
All right, so we also are not tag teaming. You'll have to indulge both of us. All right, so first I want to dispense with the formalities, the honorifics, the titles, because none of that mattered to Jamie. Jamie wasn't just a colleague, he was a friend of mine for over 20 years. I first met Jamie at the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, and I was an intern who was assigned to Dana Nessel, and Jamie's office was just a few doors down. So when I was looking for extra work, I would poke my head in, and he would give me assignments, and I would attend court with him. He was so good in trial. As you can imagine, he was relaxed, he was conversational, straightforward, and the juries would follow him, and the judges would too. When I first met him, he had a picture of Stacy on his desk. It was a wedding photo. This was over 20 years ago. And then 20 years later, I would sit at his bench in Royal Oak from time to time, filling in, and that same picture was there. And added to it were photos of his beautiful daughters, Ariel, Talia, Brooke, and Maya. Once I was officially hired as a prosecutor, Jamie informed me that he was changing jobs to serve in Macomb County, and I said, well, who does that? There's no office in the world as great as this one. What will you do without all the exciting cases here? And worse, I'll probably never see you again. But that didn't happen. And he was making good choices for his family, because that's who he was. Over the years, every time we organized any gathering, I invited him. He always came, especially at Halloween, where he and Stacy would show up in some legendary political commentary costumes, which I won't elaborate on here. Brooke and Maya were born at the same time as my daughter, Aiden. The girls now attend high school together, and Maya and Aiden were partners this year in debate, and I think Jamie would have been really, really proud of that. When the twins were born, I would bring my baby, and I would sit with Stacy and Jamie and their babies. And we were so tired, and our friendship endured. When Jamie told me he was running for judge, my first reaction was, how can I help? You'll be so good at this. And again, don't you miss Wayne County? And aren't you going to be bored? And next came months of passing out swag and fundraisers, and his first one was at Farina's. And midway through, there was Jamie, standing in line with everyone else, waiting to get a drink of water at his own fundraiser. And I told him, Jamie, go shake hands, talk to people, I'll wait for the water. But this was who he was. He never thought that he was more important or entitled than anyone. So of course he won his election, and he wasn't bored. He found great meaning in interacting with the people and would always say that people just want to be heard. And he always did that. He listened, he was patient, and he was respected by everyone who interacted with him. One time he got a speeding ticket in Ohio, and Stacy was exasperated and could not understand why he didn't just nicely tell the nice police officer that he was a judge and at least try to get out of that ticket. But of course, he didn't do that. He scheduled a hearing, and he drove back to Ohio to plead his case for no points, still never mentioning that he was a judge, because this is who he was. He was humble, he was steady, and he was a man who understood service to others with no ego. And that's how he lived his life, whether it was work, home, and in his friendships. He never failed to treat anyone with care and with respect. In his final months, I would come to sit with him on the porch, and he would say, I like it when you come over because you don't cry. And we would laugh and say, there's no crying in homicide, which was a nod to our Wayne County prosecutors' days many years ago. Lots of vicarious trauma. All right, when Berkeley combined with Royal Oak, he met Derek, who quickly became one of his closest friends and continues to be a friend and support system to Jamie's family. Derek, you were a blessing in his life, and I thank you for everything you did to support him and to honor him. Jamie was a great judge and a great colleague, a great friend, and most importantly, a great husband, father, son, and brother. His legacy lives on with all of us.
Hi, I'm Joe Fabrizio. I'm a judge in Clarkston. And Derek, I just noticed the picture that, is that a coincidence? It just happens to be up there right now.
It's not a coincidence.
So, I was just talking to Ryan Kaluzny about this picture, and because he mentioned that I cut my hair. And every time I see that picture, I think, my God, is that really me? It was down to my shoulders. So anyway, Jamie Wittenberg and I went to new judges school together. We were both elected in 2008, and there's a lot of judges in this room, and all the judges, of course, know what new judges school is. But anybody who's not a judge, anytime they hear the word new judges school, they go, there's a school for that? So yeah, there is a school for that. So after you get elected or appointed, every judge in the state of Michigan goes through the new judges school. And I went into new judges school, expecting the rigorous curriculum. It was a week long of ethical sessions and educational sessions. And I honestly did not expect to leave that new judges school with a new lifelong friend. And that's what happened. Jamie and I met before then, but we really got to know each other that week. And we realized how many parallels there were in our lives. We were both 34 years old. And like Derek said, I mean, we were, what did you call us, boy judges, kid judges?
Baby judges.
Baby judges. Yeah, I mean, my God, 34. We were two of the youngest judges elected in the state of Michigan at that time. And in fact, there was a newspaper article in some local paper that said that I was the youngest judge in the state, and there was another article that said that Jamie was the youngest judge in the state. Well, our birthdays are within 2 weeks of each other, but he had me beat by 2 weeks. He was 2 weeks younger. We had both just come off of very challenging elections. We both had young children. We both had beautiful and strong and independent wives, and soon-to-be fathers of 4 children. We were both outgrowing our small houses that were both in Berkeley, and I was in Clarkston, and each of our houses were over 100 years old, and we're trying to make all these people fit in these tiny little houses. Even our campaign colors, it just dawned on me when I saw the campaign signs up there in the courthouse were similar. Mine were black and orange, his were blue and orange. We drove the same car. I had a Ford Explorer, he had a Ford Explorer. Our wives drove the same kind of minivan. And then even something like something that you might think was a difference really wasn't. Our deep roots to my Italian-American heritage and his Jewish heritage, we found what crazy similarities there are in our 2 respective family lineages. And we just became very close friends very quickly. We traveled together, as Derek said, that we went to conferences together. My children grew up, and they were close in age to the Wittenberg daughters, and so they all kind of palled together at these conferences, and we looked like a real spectacle when we showed up because, Stacy and Teresa, they weren't really, there to impress anybody. They were just trying to keep the kids herded together, And so we'd show up with 8 small children in tow, and we really had a great time out of it. Every conversation, every meal, every vacation that I had with Jamie was memorable, and I will always value every single occasion that we had a time to get together. At a time when everything around us seemed to be so divisive, Jamie had a very simple and unifying approach to life. He never let the bad drag him down. He never did. And there was no negativity in politics that could drag him down, not the cases that he presided over, not the chaos of life, not the terminal diagnosis that he received. None of it brought him down. He was the eternal optimist, and he always presented a refreshing point of view and a refreshing perspective on everything. He wasn't just a good person, he was a great person. And he wasn't just a good judge, he was a great judge. I truly feel that Jamie made me a better person, a better father, and a better husband. I feel that I'm a better person for having known Jamie. And I'm glad that everyone here in this room also recognizes the greatness of Jamie's life. I certainly do. Jamie, thank you for being my friend. I miss you, buddy.
This room is packed because everyone loved Jamie. We'd like to recognize all of the elected officials who have joined us here today. Judge, if you'd like to start.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so and excuse us if we missed anyone. We were given a list, and hopefully you're all on it. Judge Shalina Kumar, a fellow benchmate of mine that we went to New Judges School together, now in the federal district court.
I had to go to baby judges school.
Yeah, you can attest to it. Michigan Court of Appeals Judge Patel. Michigan Court of Appeals Judge Young. If you want to just raise your hand and give a little wave when I call your name. No lengthy speeches, though. Michigan Court of Appeals Judge Wallace. Immigration Judge Peruch. Judge Jacob Cunningham from the Oakland County Circuit Court. Judge Tricia Dare from the Oakland County Circuit Court. Judge Kamisha Grant from the Oakland County Circuit Court. Judge Lisa Gorsica, Oakland County Circuit Court. Judge Jeffrey Mattis, Oakland County Circuit Court. Judge Julie McDonald, Oakland County Circuit Court. Judge Yasmin Polis, Oakland County Circuit Court. Judge Jennifer Callahan, Oakland County Probate Court. Macomb County Circuit Judge Jim Biernut. Macomb County Circuit Judge Joseph Towell. Macomb County Circuit Judge Tracy Jokic. Retired Macomb County Circuit Judge Mark Switalski. District Judge Alexis Krott, Hamtramck. District Judge Stephen Beda, that's 37th District. 38th District Judge Kathleen Galen. 39th District Judge Joseph Bodecker. 41-A District Judge Anne Marie Lepore. 43rd District Judge Brian Hartwell. 45th District Judge Michelle Apple. 46th District Judge Cynthia Arvant. 46th District Judge retired Bill Richards. 47th District Judge Marla Parker. 48th District Judge Diane DiAugustini. A lot of judges.
Retired Judge Honorable Jody Switalski. 52nd District Court Honorable Lisa Azadorian. 52nd District Court Honorable Marie McGinnis. State Court Administrator Region 6 Jim McGrail. Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald. Deputy District Director for Congresswoman Haley Stevens Cody Schwab. District Director for State Senator Mallory McMorrow Elizabeth Mulheisen. State Representative Regina Weiss. State Rep Natalie Price. Former State Rep and former City Commissioner Marie Donegan. Chair of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners Dave Woodard. District 19 Commissioner for Oakland County Charlie Cavell. Berkeley City Council Member Steve Baker. Berkeley City Council Member Gary Elrod. Berkeley City Council Member Dennis Hennon. Berkeley City Council Member Gregory Patterson. Former Mayor of Berkeley Phil O'Dwyer. Former Mayor of Berkeley Dan Turbrack. Royal Oak City Commissioner Paul Bastian. Royal Oak City Commissioner Rebecca Chisholm. Royal Oak City Commissioner Woody Gontina. Royal Oak City Commissioner Amanda Herzog. Royal Oak City Commissioner Brandon Cotto. Chief Berkeley of the Berkeley Public Safety Department, Chief Matt Cohn. Police Chief of the Royal Oak Police Department, Chief Michael Moore. Royal Oak School Board President, Tim Cherkarski. Royal Oak School Board, Erica Alexander. Royal Oak School Board, Marianne Van Haltsma. Royal Oak School Board, Deb Anderson. And Superintendent of Berkeley Schools, Scott Francis.
All right, thank you. I'd like to next invite up the Honorable Megan K. Kavanaugh, Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court, to present a resolution.
Good evening. I very much appreciate the opportunity to join this community today as we celebrate the life of Judge Jamie Wittenberg. His achievements are documented in this resolution that I will be presenting in a moment to the Wittenberg family and to Chief Judge Derek Meineke, representing the 44th District Court. But before I make the presentation, I have a few things to say. We all no doubt feel grief at the loss of a friend, a colleague, a family member, a community leader like Jamie Wittenberg. We feel that grief because he was so loved, admired, and respected. Like the memorial says, Jamie Wittenberg was the best of us. But the perspective I want to offer is that of the people of Royal Oak and Berkeley when they appeared in his courtroom. They encountered a judge who treated them with dignity and respect and connected with them on a personal level. This kind of judicial temperament is something we often consider at the Michigan Supreme Court. And what I know is this: temperament cannot be coached. Temperament cannot be taught. Temperament cannot be faked. Temperament reflects the inner voice of a person comfortable in his own skin. Temperament reflects a life dedicated to service and sacrifice to the greater good. And temperament reflects a deep and abiding commitment to the value of every human being in every way God creates them and puts them in our lives. That was Judge Wittenberg's temperament, second to none, truly the best of us. And as I thought about what I could say today to offer some insights, I remembered that my dad, Mike Kavanaugh, was also a district judge in Lansing, and he actually was elected when he was 32 years old. So I was 1, by the way. So I can't say that I really remember that period of my life, but many other moments with my dad, obviously. And what I do remember is that my father said in giving a speech not long before he retired from the Supreme Court. And he talked in that speech about what had and had not changed in the half century since he had become a lawyer and went to work at his first legal job in the city attorney's office in Lansing. His words remind me of Judge Wittenberg. And here's what my dad said about what had not changed. Principles, courage in the face of adversity, love of family and friends, love of God, compassion for your fellow man, decency, honor, and the strength and commitment to stand your ground when it would be so easy to succumb. All of those attributes perfectly describe Jamie Wittenberg, and there are many others, some that I have no doubt we will hear later on in this ceremony. Others are documented in this resolution that I would now like to present. So I would like Judge Wittenberg's family and Chief Judge Meineke to please come up. So on behalf of the Michigan Supreme Court, I am honored to present this resolution that was signed by all of the justices, and I will not read all of the whereases. We do like the word whereas up here, but I will read the last line is that, be it further resolved that Judge Wittenberg be remembered as simply the best of all.
All right, so now we're going to move into the portion of our program where we get to meet some incredible community members, attorneys, family members who are going to reflect on Jamie's impact on each of them. So our first speaker is going to be Mike Frentz from Frentz & Sons Hardware, also from the Royal Oak Historical Society. Now, I knew Mike well before I got involved with him with the Historical Society, because he's where I would go. His store is where I would go after I tried and failed with some home improvement projects. My wife can verify on that. Mike would save the day, and then I had a comfortable face when I then walked over to the Historical Society looking for help. I must tell you, the partnership between the 44th District Court and our Historical Society is simply incredible, because the reality is what we try to achieve at the courthouse, and in remembering our wonderful colleague and friend, like, judges can't raise money. We can't use taxpayer funds. We have to find trusted community partners in which to work with. And it's just so helpful, and we are so fortunate and blessed to be able to have a partner like the Royal Oak Historical Society, who stepped right in and said, you know what, we're absolutely going to want to be a part of this, because this is a life that is not simply for notation, but for remembering. And we need to understand why they're worthy of remembrance. And so I'm so grateful and so pleased to introduce Mike Frentz for his remarks today. Mike.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Royal Oak Historical Society, I want to thank you for being here today as we gather to honor the life, service, and lasting legacy of Judge Wittenberg. Judge Wittenberg's work touched the lives of countless people in Royal Oak, Berkeley, and beyond. He understood that justice was not only about the law, but about dignity, understanding, responsibility, and hope. His memorial wall will be much more than a display in a courthouse. It will be a permanent reminder of a judge who served fairness, compassion, intelligence, and humanity. The Royal Oak Historical Society was honored to be asked to play the role in this important project. Working in cooperation with the 44th District Court, the Berkeley Historical Committee, the Wittenberg family, and the many friends, attorneys, judges, and community members who wanted to see Judge Wittenberg's story preserved. A memorial of this nature requires substantial funding, and we were asked to shoulder the responsibility of helping to serve that funding by soliciting, receiving, and managing the donations. As a trusted community partner, we at the Historical Society were proud to help in this capacity. And tonight, we especially want to thank our major contributors. Team 44, the Honorable Jamie Powell Horowitz, Dr. Thomas and Dawn Moline, the Honorable Joseph and Teresa Fabricio, Jack Kramer, Brian Bona, Jordan Kramer, PA, the Honorable Andrew and Dr. Jennifer Kowalski, the Honorable Derek and Mandy Meineke, Susan Sharnowski Cole, the Honorable Bill and Joan Richards, Catherine and Jim Leenhouts, the magistrates of the 44th District Court, Jill Banke, Don Chisholm, and William Urich, the Berkeley Historical Committee, Lyle Friedman and the Friedman Law Firm, Jeffrey Aboud and the Aboud Law Firm, Jason Jarjosa, Sherman Abdo, Aaron Herskovich from Michigan Fire Law, PLLC, and Neil Rockin of Rockin Law. We appreciate your generosity, and to everyone who contributed to this memorial wall, please know that your gifts have created something permanent and meaningful. Your gifts were not simply donations to a project, they were acts of remembrance. They were expressions of gratitude for a life of service. And they were a statement that Judge Wittenberg's example should continue to be seen, understood, and appreciated by future generations. Judge Wittenberg's career was marked by a rare combination of strength and kindness. First elected to the bench in 2008 as a judge of the 45th A District Court in Berkeley, and later serving the newly consolidated 45th District Court of both Berkeley and Royal Oak, he brought integrity and decency to every part of his work. His sobriety court program saved lives, offering people struggling with addiction to change and accountability, recovery, and a better future. His teen court reached hundreds of young people at a point in their lives when gratitude, structure, and encouragement can make all the difference. Even after being diagnosed with glioblastoma in 2019, Judge Wittenberg continued to serve. Through surgeries, treatment, and the daily challenges of his illness, he remained committed to his work and to the people of his community. That courage and dedication are part of what made him so deeply admired. This memorial wall will help tell that story. People who never met him need to understand who he was and why he mattered, how his example can still guide us. But we also believe that honoring a legacy means more than remembering the past. It also means building something for the future. This is why the Royal Oak Historical Society is proud to announce the establishment of the Wittenberg-Leenhouts Scholarship Fund, named in honor of Judge Jamie Wittenberg and Judge Keith Leenhouts. These two judges served in different eras, but both shaped the character and reputation of the 44th District Court. Judge Leenhouts, a Royal Oak High School graduate, was a groundbreaking judge who served from 1959 to 1969 and developed an innovative Volunteers in Probation program, which brought national recognition to Royal Oak and became a forerunner of the modern problem-solving probation. Judge Wittenberg carried forward that spirit of compassionate and forward-thinking justice in his own time. This scholarship fund will support students connected to Royal Oak and Berkeley who demonstrate academic promise, community involvement, and an interest in public service, law, government, history, or civic engagement. Our hope is that the fund will encourage young people to follow the example of these two judges, to serve their communities, to lead with integrity, and to understand that justice and public service are on both wisdom and compassion. We are grateful to the Wittenberg and Leenhouts families for allowing these names to be joined in this meaningful way. We are also grateful to Chief Judge Derek Meineke, Judge Andrew Kowalkowski, the 44th District Court staff, the Berkeley Historical Committee, and everyone who's helped to bring this memorial and scholarship effort forward. For anyone interested in contributing to the scholarship, we have an exciting gift match to announce. The Wittenberg family will match dollar for dollar up to $5,000, all gifts received today through June 5th. Thank you so much for your generosity. There is a scholarship brochure in your program if you choose to donate to the fund. There will also be Historical Society volunteers in the courthouse and City Hall to process your donations. At the Royal Oak Historical Society, our mission is to preserve the stories that have shaped the community. Some stories are about buildings, businesses, neighborhoods, and events. But the most powerful stories are often about people whose lives made a difference. Judge Jamie Wittenberg was one of those people. May the memorial wall stand as a lasting tribute to his service, his courage, his humanity, and may the scholarship fund established in his name and Judge Leenhouts' name help inspire future generations to continue the legacy of service. Thank you.
So when the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission was created, the 44th District Court and the cities of Royal Oak and Berkeley, and really I do want to, again, state my appreciation to Royal Oak and Berkeley for joining us in this idea that individuals deserve the best representation possible. And when the city of Royal Oak came to Jamie and I and said, well, we've got some names that we're thinking about putting in charge of our Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, having our director of our court, we're thinking about this guy, John Angot. And Jamie was like, absolutely, it has to be John Angot. We appreciated all the work he had done before. He had the right temperament. He would set the right standard. And Jamie always appreciated your work. Even the case that you guys had that went for like 3 years. 4 years. If you have an attorney that has a case in front of you for 4 years and you still like them, that tells you it's a special relationship. John Angot.
Thank you, Judge Meineke. Somebody, a client, actually a pretty dangerous man, once told me, nobody is just one thing. I thought about that statement. I'm not sure why, because it seemed pretty basic. But I realized it meant everything to that client, because the many courtrooms he walked into, often in chains, defined him solely by his criminal life. Nobody is just one thing. Jamie judged exactly that. He never started with the poor criminal choices or the dark moments that brought people before him. He was more interested in the light, that there was good to be mined by these people. That was what Jamie did. Day after day, and without exception, he was relentless in finding the good. Every defendant before him walked into his courtroom unaware that the man in the robe on the elevated bench was actually their champion. He wanted for every defendant the chance to find the path to a better life. My favorite story that Jamie told about the person about whom I believe he was least concerned himself is this. In his chambers, he was putting on his robe, getting ready to take the bench, And he looked at me and said, "You know, John, this is the only place I get to be in charge." Then he smiled and said, "Because you know I'm not in charge at home with all of my girls." And then he looked at Courtney, who was working at her desk and without looking up, also smiling, and said in response to that, "Well, I guess I'm not really in charge here either." He was so very humble, on and off the bench, and that was such a lovely gift for us all. I'm so proud to be a part of this tribute to Jamie Wittenberg's legacy, and I miss our friend.
Yeah, I'm now going to welcome Jamie's brother, and I know he holds that title even higher than his elected position as treasurer of our fine county, Oakland County. Before I have him join us here, I do want to give a quick shout out to Jody, Jamie's sister, who's here, and his mother Molly, and Dad Howard, who are all in attendance today. And if you all are able to join us afterwards for our event over at the courthouse, you'll see a number of desserts. And they are produced by my mother and Jamie's mother. And so it's a Molly and Valerie production. But I will tell you, getting to know this family in the deepest of crisis, it was obviously very challenging, but also a blessing, because I think that a tremendous relationship was forged, and I got to see them at their very best during some of the very worst moments. And since Jamie's passing, Robert, especially when we were trying to get this memorial going, he has been out making phone calls, raising money, because as in his elected position, he can ask for money. And he's done a great job. And obviously having incredible conversations with Jody over the years, her some of the best that I've ever had. And you never had a hug in this lifetime if you haven't had a Molly Wittenberg hug. And I think during Robert's speech, you will see that there isn't anybody as persistent as Howard Wittenberg, and really persistent also in the belief that his son's memory never fade. So, Robert.
I got to lower this a little bit after you, Derek. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. It is so nice to see so many faces here, so many familiar faces. But before I get into my remarks, we actually have a special message that Governor Gretchen Whitmer is going to share with all of us.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't join you tonight. The Wittenberg family is truly some of the kindest, most honorable people I've had the privilege of knowing, and no one embodied that more than Jamie. Jamie was an extraordinary judge, but an even better human being. He believed that no matter who you are or where you come from, everyone deserves fairness, compassion, dignity, and a real shot at a better future. And he put that into action every single day, especially with the work to expand sobriety court program and support at-risk youths. Jamie showed up everywhere with joy and honesty and purpose, and he inspired all of those around him to do the same, me included. Those who knew Jamie knew that as proud as he was to be a judge, nothing meant more to him than being a husband to Stacy and a father to Ariel, Talia, Brooke, and Maya. He was taken from us far too soon, but the example he set, the example of service, love, fighting for what you believe in, that stays with all of us. So to the Wittenbergs, thank you for bringing us together to celebrate Jamie's memory, and let's remember to work just as hard and be just as good as Jamie was.
So actually, Governor Whitmer lost her mom to glioblastoma, the same disease that Jamie had. And I was serving in the legislature when Jamie was diagnosed. And when I had to go to the hospital when he had his first surgery, I got a call as I was driving from Session in Lansing and pulled up at the hospital in Detroit, and I had a call from a blocked number, and I actually answered it. Usually I wouldn't. I answered it, and it was the governor saying that she had heard about Jamie's diagnosis, that she loves the family, she's there to support us, anything she can do to help. And so she had a really close bond with all of us, including Stacy and the girls. Obviously, I got to know her from serving in the legislature, but she had a really close bond with Jamie. So this picture here is actually in 2020, her second State of the State address. She invited, she knew when I wouldn't have got this special treatment, but when she knew Jamie was my guest for the State of the State, she actually invited us to see her before she actually went out to give her address. And as you can imagine, they don't invite many people there beforehand. I think you crop the picture a little bit. The picture actually has her in her bare feet. We didn't post that because there's a lot of creeps online, but I actually thought that today we would see that. But she had a really great relationship with our family and shared that with glioblastoma. So I want to begin by saying how deeply honored our family is by this memorial. To see my brother remembered here in the courthouse where he served and gave so much of himself means more to us than I can properly express. It has been 3.5 years since we lost Jamie, and not a day goes by that I don't think about him. And sometimes I still catch myself wanting to call him, usually when I need advice or when I need someone to kindly explain why I'm wrong. Because if you knew my brother, you know he had a gift for that. In fact, he had a little sign on his desk that said, "I'm not arguing, I'm just explaining why I'm right." And I kept this ever since. He had this, I don't know if it was at home or in his office. So, and Stacy got it for him, so she knew well. We all knew well. And he loved to prove his point, but never in an adversarial way. He loved a good debate. He always did his research, and he was poised during a discussion. And yes, he very much loved being right. And that's actually a trait that our son gets. And the story that Judge Jamie Powell-Horace talked about, his ticket in Ohio, same kind of thing. Jamie knew and he wanted to go there to prove his point. I truly could not have asked for a better brother, and I know my sister Jody's back here and she agrees. As a brother, he was always there for us. He encouraged us, he pushed us, and he always made us laugh. Always. He had a great sense of humor and a quick wit. He was ethical and modest, and he always did the right thing. He didn't care about status or fancy things. This is kind of a funny memory. One of Jamie's favorite celebrity sightings was seeing the CEO of Costco in the store walking by himself. He was starstruck. He couldn't believe that he saw him walking the aisles of Costco alone. And I get that because Costco is my happy place just like it was Jamie's. And we've spent far too much money there. Jody and I both followed him to Indiana University. Then we both lived out of state after college for a while and eventually wanted to be closer to our family, especially Jamie and our nieces. As the oldest, he looked out for us and he was very protective of us. I know personally, I wouldn't be where I am today without him. Jamie was the one who planted the seed for me to run for office, and he helped me every step of the way. As a son, he brought enormous pride and joy to our parents. He carried himself with integrity and kindness that reflected the values that they taught us growing up. He loved our family deeply. He was patient with our parents. He would go to my mom's house and do yard work and bring flowers for her. He would help them navigate their technological deficiencies, as I was talking about with earlier. My parents still talk about trying to live up to Jamie's example every day. My dad now takes a little time to think about what Jamie would tell him before he makes the decision, and that's saying something if you know my dad. Had to. Every day, my mom tries to do something kind that would make Jamie proud and that would honor his memory. She is grateful that they shared a bond over their keto diet that Jamie encouraged her to try. She knows that that changed her life. As an uncle, Jamie loved being with his nieces and nephews. He cared about all the kids and loved watching sports with them and making them laugh. Charlie, Elena, and Noah have great memories with him, and they share stories about him often. We regularly tell our kids, Ada and Abel, who are sitting up here, stories about Uncle Jamie and show them photos of Uncle Jamie with them to keep his memory alive. Everywhere they go, they collect rocks for Uncle Jamie that Grandma puts on his grave. So he is always on their minds. I know Stacy will talk about Jamie as a husband and a father, but I will just say that he loved all of you with every ounce of his being. Ariel, Talia, Brooke, and Maya, he is proud of all of you. Family was everything for Jamie. He was our glue, and we miss that. While we knew Jamie as family, many of you knew him through his work. Others have talked about it, and others will speak about his accomplishments, but I want to mention the impact that he had on people. Attorneys still, to this day, will come up to me and tell me how kind and helpful he was when they were starting out, how fairly he treated them, and how he would always take the time after the court was done, and he would answer their questions and talk to them about their experience. I've also heard from people who appeared before him in court, including one person Jamie sentenced to jail. He told me Jamie treated him with dignity, and that he saw him as a person, not just the crime he committed. People remember how Jamie made them feel. My brother understood that the law mattered, but people mattered too. Looking around this room, there are a lot of people that mattered to Jamie, and Jamie mattered to a lot of people. Everyone who is here to honor Jamie, including our friends and family and all the elected officials and dignitaries, thank you. We want to thank his staff, the people who worked beside him every day, from the Berkeley Courthouse to right here at the Royal Oak Courthouse. Our family knows how much this court and the people, especially the people in it, meant to him. Andy, you are cut from a similar cloth as Jamie. You are kind and empathetic. We are glad you're in our lives. I would miss somebody if I tried to mention everyone, but a special thank you to Art and Harold, Paulina, Tammy, Sarah, Courtney, and Derek, especially Derek. None of this happens without your hard work and commitment to Jamie. We all know how close you were, not just professionally, but personally. You complemented each other perfectly, especially in your speaking styles, and you bonded like brothers. We agree, you are part of our family. To everyone who helped, the Leenhouts family and everyone else who made today's memorial possible, for this event itself was a big undertaking, and then when we walk across, you will see there was a lot of time and energy and effort that went into this. So I want to thank all the people that helped, especially Mike and the Historical Society. Thank you. Our family is deeply grateful and touched by this beautiful tribute. It reminds us how lucky we were to have Jamie in our lives. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Well done. Well done. It's now my honor to introduce Stacy Wittenberg, who I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to become very close friends with as well. When I was younger, I lost my dad at a very young age, and I watched my mom go through that as well. That there's an overflowing amount of support, and then silence. Not because people don't care, they still care, but they still have the rest of their lives to continue to live, and they have to keep moving forward. And so what's left then is a mom who didn't plan on being a single mom, who then not only had to process all of her own personal disappointments at what could have been and what should have been and what ought to have been, and then to also answer and field all of those questions from her daughters who were they all deserved answers to why my dad? And Stacy was stuck with having to field all those questions, and she did so brilliantly. I'm sure on many days you didn't have all the right answers, and you felt like the waves were overcoming you. But I must say, my friend, you have stood tall, and Jamie would be exceptionally proud of you. And I know that he is certainly looking forward to hearing what you have to say, because you'll be, honestly, she always does brilliant. Stacy Wittenberg.
Well, we all know I'm not going to get through this without crying, but I just want to thank everyone for coming here today, or if you're watching it online, to honor Jamie for this 44th District Court Memorial. He would be so moved, like I said at the funeral, and so embarrassed. Jamie never sought recognition or praise. He served as a judge because he loved the law and he wanted to help people. He was fiercely smart, loyal, independent, and had a witty sense of humor, and had the ability to bring all groups of people together, as we all are here tonight. Jamie modeled courage and a positive mindset throughout his diagnosis. He taught me so much and always believed and encouraged the girls in me with his pep talks. I will continue to find his voice and hear his words in all we do. So, with that being said, I would like to thank a few people, and Derek and Judge Fabrizio and Jamie. I still call you Jamie, I'm sorry. And Rabbi Kaluzny. I know Derek kind of talked about those relationships already, but Rabbi Kaluzny, thank you for being here and being a source of support for me since Jamie's diagnosis. I remember you sitting with me in the hospital, the surgery, all the way back in 2019. And you are someone who I have called when I don't know the answers to the questions from the girls. Thank you to Judge Fabrizio. You and Jamie met at judge school and had an instant connection, which brought your wife, Teresa, and me together with our 8 kids, the lone son in there, to the group. You forgot to say that. There's 7 girls and that one poor boy. And by the way, just on a side note, we had a judicial conference in Mackinac Island, and remember at the Grand Hotel, we loved that. And the girls, my girls, never been with a brother, and they remember the two, that my girls and your older girl and Frankie all shared a room. It was like a brother-sister relationship. Those annual judicial conferences were some of the best summers of our life, and we made amazing family memories. And to Judge Jamie Horowitz, thank you for your continued friendship. You and Jamie met all the way back at the prosecutor's office in Wayne County, and you've always made us feel included in your social events and in your home. And to Judge Kay, I'm grateful for many things, mostly that you're Spartan. No, I'm just kidding. No. And by the way, I did not know we're both Geminis. Kidding aside, thank you for embracing our family, continuing Jamie's hard work, and the programs he was passionate about in the courtroom, and for letting us continue to celebrate and recognize Jamie annually. There's no doubt that you and Jamie both share the same humble dispositions. Lastly, this event wouldn't be able to take place without the hard work, dedication, and determination from Judge Meineke. If there's a silver lining in all of this, it's that you have become a great friend. We have come a long way from our early text exchanges about Michigan State and Northwestern sports, because let's be honest, they both suck. I never knew that the call I made to you from the hospital when Jamie was sick would somehow lead us to this. You're someone I can laugh with, cry to, brainstorm ideas, collaborate on college essays. I think we make a good team. You find joy in my girls' accomplishments, and without a doubt, you've been one of my first calls when my girls got accepted to college. And most importantly, you've been a constant source of support for me. I'm forever grateful to you, and will always be cheering on Team Meineke. And again, thank you to the whole committee for putting this wonderful event together for Jamie and to honor him. I wish more than anything that I didn't have to give this speech, and that I was giving a speech 25 years from now when Jamie was retiring from this job that he loved with his heart. We all wish this. Yet here we are, May 27th, 2026, 3.5 years after Jamie passed away from glioblastoma. Ironically, in the month of May, which is Brain Cancer Awareness Month, and the month he was diagnosed and had his surgery. There's so much I could say about Jamie, but what everyone here doesn't know is how he became this well-respected judge that we're honoring here today. I was pregnant with our second child when Jamie proposed the idea of running for judge in Berkeley. The current judge was retiring, we'll say, and Jamie saw an opportunity to act on this. I, of course, told him, let's table this ridiculous idea until after our baby was born. At that time, Jamie was happily working as a prosecutor in Macomb County, where he was recruited, as Jamie said, from Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. He loved his job, he loved his coworkers, and I didn't see why he would want to leave. Our second daughter, Talia, was born March 2nd, 2007, and it didn't take long after that for Jamie to start researching the city of Berkeley, demographics, successful campaigning strategies, putting together his idea of becoming the next judge of Berkeley, all from the headquarters of our home. Jamie told me to go knock on doors in the city of Berkeley to get enough signatures to get him on the ballot. Now, mind you, I don't even know how to do that. So he coached me on what to say. Fast forward, he's running against 5 other people. He's the youngest one with the least amount of recognition or support. That only made Jamie more determined. He, along with his dad, Howard, and me, were a committee made of 3. Sometimes we brought our 2 young daughters in their wagon and tried to charm the neighbors. Jamie knocked the doors in the city of Berkeley 3 times. I said 3 times. He had the most creative campaign signs in literature, thanks to Vicki Lang. I see you out there, Vicki. And people were certainly familiar with his name now. He won the primary in August and even beat out the city attorney and former mayor of Berkeley. He was now on to the general election in November 2008, a huge election where President Barack Obama was running. Jamie constantly reminded me when I was knocking doors, remember, I'm nonpartisan. His dad and I would get very upset and frustrated, to say the least, when the campaign got dirty or people would take his signs down or say they were endorsing his opponent. Yet Jamie remained calm and more determined than ever. He settled us down and kept us all on track. On November 4th, 2008, Jamie won that election and became the judge of 45A District Court of Berkeley at the young age of 34, beating out his opponent and even the write-in campaign of the city attorney, who, by the way, lost in the primary. It was one of the most memorable days of our lives until about 2 weeks or so after, when I found out we were pregnant. We were in the doctor's office looking at an ultrasound when the doctor got very quiet, and I immediately got concerned. It was there that the doctor told me I was pregnant with twins. Not believing him, I looked at Jamie, and if some of you may know, he blushed. His cheeks were flush red, and he was rocking in the chair, and he just kept saying, thank God I won the election, thank God I won the election. We were still in a high from winning the election, and a surprise pregnancy, let alone twins, was not on our current agenda. Jamie started his new career and term in January of 2009. He had a big job ahead of him. The court was very dysfunctional, and he needed a fresh start with hiring new staff. Jamie recruited some of his coworkers from Macomb County and brought in temporary employees that became permanent. 2 of them are here today, Sarah Fillmore and Tammy Bonet. They have been on this journey with us all the way back from the beginning. They've seen our family grow and celebrated all of our mitzvahs with us. Fun fact, Jamie also officiated Tammy's wedding. Unfortunately, things got more stressful for Jamie as his new career started. We found out in February of 2009 that I needed to go on strict bed rest for our twins after being diagnosed with twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. We immediately were sent to Cincinnati Children's Hospital to have life-saving surgery on our twins. Our other 2 daughters were not even 2 and 4 years old, and suddenly our lives were rocked. Jamie somehow kept everything together for us at work and at home. And Jody was there. She was there in that office. She saw everything. It made us some lasagnas, yes. Jamie somehow kept everything together for us. He researched everything to make sure the twins and I remained healthy, all while working at his new court, managing people, overseeing cases, and making sure his transition was successful. Within the next few years, Jamie had a temporary merger with 45B, Court in Oak Park and Huntington Woods, then they unmerged. He was asked to work at the U.S. Attorney's Office and of course said no thanks, and things were becoming stable at the Berkeley Courthouse. However, soon we were preparing for another election. It was 2014 and we now had 4 beautiful daughters all attending Rogers Elementary School. His opponent from the 2008 election, who lost in the primary and did the write-in, decided he was going to run again against Jamie. We started campaigning all over again. New signs, sweatshirts, literature, everything. Luckily, it was a huge victory for Jamie and for our family. We were so proud and relieved. Jamie continued to do his remarkable job at the court. He loved having the schools do their field trips to come visit him, and he just loved going to work. Nothing was going to take Jamie away from the Berkeley court until he got a phone call one night from Judge Derek Meineke. And then we learned that Jamie was going to be replacing the judge in Royal Oak, and he was now going to be merging with the 44th District Court. I can vividly remember him relating his conversations with Judge Meineke to me. He was filled with so much excitement, but again had another obstacle to face with the merger. It was 2015 and the Berkeley court closed, and now everyone was in the courthouse in Royal Oak. Jamie took on this new merger with the same mindset, that everything happens for a reason. He was thrilled to work in a bigger city like Royal Oak and was ready to take on more challenging work. Luckily, Jamie fit right in the 44th District Court and was able to keep the former judge's secretary, Courtney. I don't know where Courtney is, but with Courtney, we developed a friendship that expanded beyond the court. Judge Meineke and Jamie had a wonderful, well-respected work relationship that grew into a trusted friendship. They worked as a team and supported one another, and together created the amazing reputation the 44th District Court holds today. This made Jamie's love for his job even greater. Can you imagine going to work and loving what you do every day? Jamie gave his all to the court between the hours of 8:30 and 5, and then he came home to us. His non-paid job was carpooling the girls, helping with homework and bedtime. No one was rising when he came into the house. He was on dad duty and he loved it. He loved his 4 girls with all his heart. When people would suggest him running for circuit court or Supreme Court or any other job opportunities, he would always answer the same. I love my job. I'm 5 minutes from my house. I can be with my family. Why would I give that up? I'm good where I'm at. You can hear his voice saying it. He truly stayed true to his word and worked up until August 2022 when he had his 3rd brain surgery. He repeatedly told me that his work kept him going when he got sick. He was passionate about showing up to work, still being an integral part of the court, and soon being back on the bench hearing cases. He hated breaking away from his routine and even went to visit the court after his radiation treatments. His work gave him purpose, hope, and inspired him even more to help people after his diagnosis. He was sworn in, unopposed, for his 3rd term by Judge Meineke days before he passed away on November 20th, 2022. Jamie created programs in the court and developed relationships with people that you don't often see between a judge and the people that appear before you. He treated everyone with fairness and respect. Jamie took great pride in his teen court programs. Our oldest daughter, Ariel, was able to participate in that. And of course, his passion was his sobriety court. It was sobriety court that introduced me to Chris Barkey. Jamie wanted us to go to Chris's surprise birthday party. Not really understanding why he wanted us to go, we went. It was there where I met Chris, his husband, and family, and I truly saw how moved he was to see Jamie there. With tears in his eyes, he told me how Jamie helped save him and change his life. I was filled with so much pride and admiration for Jamie. You see, Jamie really shared his stories from court with me. When he came home, he left his job as a judge in the court. I wish he had shared more stories with me, so I could have met more people like Chris. I would hear stories from other attorneys about how well respected Jamie was and how efficient he was in the courtroom, how fairly he treated people. But hearing it and seeing it in someone's eyes are so very different. I'll never forget at Jamie's funeral, Chris came up to me and handed me his sobriety stone as a token of his appreciation. I'm proud to say that stone sits in Jamie's nightstand drawer with all of Jamie's treasures. We can all take away from tonight the wonderful attributes Jamie had and how his determination, stubbornness, and endless research on beating cancer helped him live 3.5 years since his diagnosis. Yet we're still here without him because his life was sadly cut short, and it's not fair, and the grief doesn't stop. But Jamie wouldn't want us to dwell on the negative and wanted us to live and find joy and happiness. We should all strive to be better people in honor of Jamie and carry the lessons he modeled for us and integrate them into our lives. So with that being said, when the girls and I went to clean Jamie's belongings out of his court and office, which were filled, by the way, with his kids' artwork, IU pictures, Tigers mementos, inspirational quotes, family pictures, and so on, we stumbled upon a monthly desk calendar. On that calendar, he wrote a quote every month, a quote that he never said at home. It was as if he planted it for us as a surprise. One last lesson. The quote is now a part of the memorial wall in the court in honor of Jamie, and it says the following: I don't want to look back and say, what if? I think of this quote often, and I'm proud to say our girls, Ariel, Talia, Brooke, Maya, and I have all worked hard to incorporate these powerful words of wisdom in our lives. We've all taken risks outside of our comfort zones, whether it's trying a new sport, new club, new committee, new job, traveling, going on challenging adventures, seeking out new experiences or difficult classes, meeting new people at camp, college, etc. We have not looked back with doubt, but forward, knowing what we did, and we can continue to do it. I can say with certainty that all of our 4 girls carry a piece of Jamie, not only in their hearts, but with their actions, personality, character, and souls. We will continue to honor and love Jamie every day and cherish the memories we made with him and not look back and say what if, but look forward to make Jamie proud. Thank you.
I told you all she would be brilliant. I now have the great pleasure to introduce our good friend, Christopher Barkey. I knew of Christopher Barkey before I ever met Christopher Barkey, because when Jamie was working his sobriety court, he would come to me and say, there's this guy. Every time he comes up to the podium, every phase that he gets through, he's just the best speaker. And at that time, Jamie was in the midst of his cancer diagnosis. He needed to find inspiration wherever it could be found. And every single time Christopher Barkey stood at that podium, spoke, it inspired him. When he watched his actions, it inspired him. And when they parted from sobriety court, it was not as judge and defendant, it was as friends. So, Christopher Barkey.
Thank you, Judge Meineke, and thank you, Stacy. I am truly humbled to be standing here and so grateful to be alive and to have survived the carnage that addiction brings, not only in my life, but in the lives of my family and the lives of the greater community that it ripples out. But on the other hand, surviving that, also, there's power, positive power that takes place in these courtrooms if one is willing to just surrender and follow some directions. And that has changed my life and changed the life of countless others. And one person who was such a positive force and made such a positive impact on the beginning of that journey was Judge Jamie Wittenberg. 5 years, 2 months, 8 days. That was the precise amount of time I was blessed, truly blessed to know Judge Jamie Wittenberg. Little did I know on the day we met how precious those days would become, or how deeply they would completely rewrite the trajectory of my life. He taught me how to finally live fully, one day, sometimes one moment at a time, a lesson that I had completely missed out on for years. The funny thing is, when I first walked into Jamie's courtroom in the fall of 2017, time was the only thing consuming my mind. I mean, that's all I could think about. How much time am I going to jail? What am I going to say so I don't have to go to jail and spend a lot of time at Oakland County Jail? I was absolutely gripped and paralyzed by fear. And I was facing the final consequences of a life spent wasting time doing exactly that, getting wasted. I walked into that courtroom that afternoon carrying almost no hope. But I didn't meet condemnation. Instead, I had the honor, great honor of meeting a man who used his power not to punish, but to uplift people out of the deep imprisonment of addiction and guide them toward a life of genuine purpose and direction. Jamie just didn't look at my file. He listened to me. He offered me a pathway out, and in doing so, he didn't just free me from the physical prison cell I thought I was headed toward. He handed me the keys to a far deeper freedom, true freedom from the self-imposed prison of my own mind. I was subsequently sentenced to 2 years in the Royal Oak Sobriety Court, and prior to that, I had never really completed a probation successfully. I had spent a lot of time in courtrooms and spent time in jail and rehabs and spent about 20 years trying to find my way out of the substance abuse, psych hospitals, suicide attempts, multiple problems with the law. And he offered me a pathway out. And I was at my bottom. I was finally willing, as they say in AA, to let go absolutely. Really, you have to just kind of let go and trust this process. So if you've ever had the privilege to spend any time with Jamie, you already know that simply being in his presence was truly a gift. If you knew him, you knew exactly what I mean by that statement. He gave you 100% of his attention, making you feel completely heard and seen. He deliberately chose to create a safe space that is grounded in trust, built entirely through a lens of vulnerability. For an addict, entering sobriety is entering a strange, terrifying, and profoundly uncomfortable space. Every single thing feels completely foreign, and the urge to run back to what is familiar, even if it's killing you, is overwhelming and almost constant. But Jamie had this rare, beautiful ability to look past the addiction, to truly see you and accept you exactly how you were and where you were in that moment. Because I felt seen and because I felt accepted, it became safe for me to step into the grueling process of navigating the challenges of sobriety court. I did it through faith, the faith that Jamie showed me. And he also created a space where those of us who were suffering could finally sit with that heavy discomfort, persevere through the raw, unfiltered emotions when we had to go up before him and talk, and slowly learn to feel finally comfortable in one's own skin without any substances. And that was such a gift that I got from him. He didn't just watch from the bench. He made you feel like he was walking with you on your journey each and every step of the way, both in and outside of that courtroom. I always felt he was like kind of right there celebrating, rooting me on through every milestone, also helping me guide and navigate setbacks and pitfalls, those things that can happen when you're going through this process. Getting sober is not easy, but boy, is it worth it. It was that time that was profoundly meaningful, and it entirely transformed my life, that time I got to spend with him. But looking back, the truest, most profound test of his character happened right in the middle of my probation when Jamie was diagnosed with brain cancer. When a person receives a grim diagnosis like that, and they are flatly told they may not have a lot of time left, no one on earth would blame them if they stepped back, closed their doors, maybe retired, and kept what little time they had left for themselves. But Jamie didn't do that. He showed incredible, unbelievable amount of perseverance, fortitude, and strength. Something I will never forget, him coming into court from his treatments and sitting and listening and being with us. Being with us. That meant something. That showed me that no matter what life throws at you, sometimes doing the right thing doesn't always happen. That's the point of getting connected to your community and to a God of greater understanding, of a power, something that can help you navigate when life throws those curveballs at you. And he did it so beautifully, and it really shifted my perspective. You know, it wasn't transactional. Sobriety didn't have to be transactional. It was transformative. And it forces you how to look and how and where you're going to spend and give your time to, especially when you're faced with those diagnoses. But Jamie, he chose to help others. He helped them build a better life for their future. He was fighting his own massive battle, but absolutely refused to let me and others fight theirs alone. What a gift that was. He taught me that we cannot always control the quantity of time we are given, but we have absolute, total authority over its quality. With his strength lifting me up, I kept putting one foot in front of the other, one day, one step at a time, and I finally completed my probation. And officially and successfully, it had ended in October of 2019. And I still have a great picture of him and I embracing. And I remember towards the end, I do hair, and he was at the bench, and I came in, and I was so excited to see him. And he had kind of like a mohawk. And he had this, he had a scar from his surgery. And he was so vulnerable to show that it's okay to reveal and be vulnerable. And I said something I'm not going to repeat now, but I said he looked pretty bad with the mohawk. And he laughed. And I said, oops, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. He says, no, you're good. We're good. And that's what I loved about him, because he made you feel like down to earth. He was humble. I mean, he was a great man, a great man. He was more than my judge. He was a trusted friend. So after probation, our connection didn't stop, and I was so pleasantly surprised that one day I was out practicing Tai Chi, something I get to do with Derek's mom now, at 12 Mile in Woodward. And it was, I was doing my thing, all zen, and he walked, I said, Jamie, and he looked amazing. He had been eating super clean and super healthy, was super fit, and I was like, are you joining the dojo? He says, oh, no. He goes, I live right behind here. And he goes, and I saw you. And so we started talking, and we ended up having lunch. And one of my sponsees was happened to be at the restaurant, somebody I was sponsoring through recovery. And he said, who is that guy you were having lunch with? And I said, oh, that's Jamie. He goes, Jamie? He goes, and I said, yeah, he's my judge. He goes, you're having lunch with your judge? In your Tai Chi outfit? And I said, yeah, I'm having lunch with the judge. He goes, are you still on probation? Did something happen? I said, no, I've been done for a while. That's the way he is. And we kind of have a good rapport with each other. So I just remember that, and I just thought that was a really positive memory. But as he was navigating his own personal challenges with cancer, he and his wife, Stacy, as she mentioned, showed up at my surprise 50th birthday party, which also is my sobriety date. And it was 4 years at that time. It was June 25th, 2021. And that was the evening of the torrential Noah's Ark flooding downpour. And it was so bad. And they showed up, and I couldn't believe they were there. I walked in, and I was like, I cannot believe. And the people are like, who is that guy? And I said, oh, that's Chris's judge, they were saying. They're like, is he in trouble? And I said, no, not in trouble. He's just there because he wanted to be there to support and to also just know that everything was going to be okay. And he just gave me a lot of hope. And that just meant so much to me. He believed that our lives were worth celebrating. And in that final moment, I really realized that he was more than my judge. He became a trusted friend. And a little side note, my sponsor's wife, I think, if I have this correct, is somehow related to Stacy. So I had these two, Stacy's family, it was a cousin or something, but Jamie had shared that with me, and I just thought that was kind of remarkable. But we stayed in touch until the summer of 2022, when the gravity of his illness really started to take its toll. And I remember I was going to a fundraiser. They were kind of doing a ballroom dance thing out in Macomb County, and it was for Turning Point. And anyways, he said, you know, we have to go out to eat, but I felt like the time was short, and I never got to see him again. And subsequently, a day I will never forget, which was Sunday, November 20th, 2022, I was at church at Christ Church Cranbrook, where I attend, and I had prayed for him, and he was on our prayer list, and I came out to my car and turned my car on because it was cold, and I had gotten a message from Stephanie that he had passed away earlier that morning. And I was so saddened. And as I sat there weeping, I just everything flooded back to me. And it was exactly those 5 years, 2 months, and 8 days that our paths had first crossed. And now I was sitting with the heaviness and the loss of somebody that helped save my life. But the one thing that was a wonderful gift was the lessons that he shared with me, and I carry them to this day. And I was able to stay sober. But life wasn't done testing me, because almost 3 years later, to the exact day of his passing, I sat on phone with my doctor and my rector, and I received my own cancer diagnosis. I was diagnosed in November 28th, the day after Thanksgiving, with a phone call that I had third stage advanced cancer, and I needed to get treatment immediately. And in an instant, that old familiar prison of fear and negative thinking threatened to slam shut on my mind all over again. And I was very, very afraid. But as I sat in that quiet state of fear, I remembered Jamie. And the timeline wasn't just a coincidence. It was a full circle moment, a reminder. People talk all the time about what cancer takes away. It takes your energy, it takes your comfort, and it ultimately took Jamie from this earth. But as I began my own treatments, I realized what cancer cannot take away. It could not touch the permanent mark that Jamie had left on my heart. I would often think of how Jamie persevered and kept pushing through when I would go into my own radiation treatments. This was something that was an invaluable gift when going through those treatments. The man who called to check on me, who watched me do Tai Chi, who stood at my 50th birthday party while fighting for his own life. His example gave me the exact encouragement I needed to keep moving forward. Because of him, I knew that being afraid didn't mean I couldn't be brave. His strength became my strength. So today, I'm happy to say I'm not just a survivor of addiction, but I am in remission and a survivor of cancer. I am a person who learned how to truly live from a man who was running out of time. And the lesson didn't stop with my own survival. Jamie's beautiful example taught me that the true meaning of this journey is to freely give what was so freely given to me. He was truly a humble and honorable man who showed me through his own vulnerability and humility that true transformation can take place in one's life. He taught me that when we give of ourselves, we are not only giving our time, but we are giving life to others' time, making their time so much more meaningful and valuable. That is why I come back to volunteer at the 44th District Court, and I was so grateful when Derek called me, and truly humbled. And that my mission now is to follow in Jamie's footsteps and step into that life of service and to show up for others the exact way he showed up for me. He set a high bar. Every single time I walk up the steps of that courthouse to go into the court, there's a picture of him that was there, and I looked at that picture wall and I say, thank you. Thank you. I do this to honor you, Judge Wittenberg. I do it so I can pass the light on to the next person so they can see their way out of the imprisonment of addiction that is holding them captive in their own minds and know that they can truly also walk free. For that, I am truly grateful to a man of honor, Jamie Wittenberg. And although I wished I had more time with him, I'm truly grateful to have spent the time I did with him. And I really want to thank God for that, because had I not met him, I wouldn't be standing here today, alive, free, and truly free. And just to know that because of his life and the time he chose to spend with me, he truly helped save mine. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. As we close our ceremony today, I'll give you a few instructions, just a few thoughts, and then one final special presentation. Now, as far as the instructions go, as you can see, we have a tremendous community response today. And we are looking forward to hosting you all over at the courthouse. But to manage traffic, all right, what we're going to need to do is when we close, if you are on the other side of the glass, you're going to go out that door. If you're on this side of the glass, we're going to orderly work through this door here. I promise, as much as Jamie would like me to have a prank and have one line end up one area, you're all going to end up at the courthouse, all right? I promise you that, all right? And if you do have any mobility concerns, please see one of our Historical Society volunteers. Now, for my very brief thoughts, I will say this. I'm going to play the Jamie role in the Jamie-Derek relationship. So anytime there was any sort of speaking type of event that would take place, of course, if there's a microphone, I'm there, and I'm going to fill that room with words. And one of the beautiful things about our friendship is that Jamie let me be me. He didn't ask me to be somebody else, and he knew by letting me be me that we could really do some beautiful things together. But usually, and the court employees will vouch for me on this, they would all, inevitably after my remarks, he would finish with what he said. What he said. So for all of you, when I first started putting together the event and working with everyone, everybody asked me, like, are you going to say some things? I've had some beautiful opportunities to speak about my friend. This is my chance to bring to you 10 incredible people who have all had a chance to speak today. And it's now my turn to say what they said. What they said. So as far as our special presentation go, I would ask if Stacy and the girls would join me up here. Robert and Jody and Molly come up here. So because of, the massive outpouring, we couldn't host all of you in the room for a curtain drop. So we did create a virtual unveiling for today. And we still are inviting you to come over, but we wanted to have that moment and share it with all of you. Thank you again for being here. This event certainly says a lot about Jamie, but he would point it right back at all of you and say, you being here says so much about all of you. There's still work to be done. And all the characteristics, all of the traits, all the things we celebrate in Jamie, they are all part of you. So let's get to that work. Thank you very much.